Hello, all guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome to the newest episode of the Noobs and Knockouts podcast, brought to you on YouTube, on Spotify, on Google, and Apple Podcasts. I'm Austin. I'm a knockout. Watched a lot of wrestling.
I'm David. I'm a noob. Haven't watched nearly as much wrestling. But I tell you what, Austin. I am what I am familiar with is the concept of rambling, meaningless diatribes that is meant to make you feel things despite not understanding a single word of what's being said. Because I live in the year of our Lord 2023 in our current political climate. We live in a society, baby. That's
Bottom text.
bottom motherfucking text. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so that was an interesting way to segue that we're back in the Warrior arc as
God, yes.
1990 is we have returning to, and we are on the road to WrestleMania 6 in the Sky Dome in Toronto.
The Sky Dome. Why the fuck is it? Is it in the sky? Are we up elevated into the mountains?
No, I think it's just a dome.
Oh,
It's
that's
probably
lame.
named for no Sky Sports. I'm pretty sure that's the UK.
Yeah. Wait. Isn't this shit normally named for like sponsors? Did the Sky sponsor this dome? Did Toronto?
This is before corporate America ruined arena names by nothing but sponsors.
Wait, there was a time before that?
Obviously, please ignore the Pontiac Silverdome from WrestleMania 3.
Or like, what about like Wrigley Field? That shit's been around for like gazillion years.
That doesn't even feel like a spot. It feels like a goddamn institution is Wrigley Field. That doesn't sound like a sponsorship name. Fuck you.
That don't count, brother.
Yeah, the Sky Dome. I was kind of curious why it was called the Sky Dome.
Yeah, legitimately, I was being a shithead about it, but I do legitimately want to know why.
Let's see. Oh, because they put out a name the stadium contest in the newspaper, and they voted for, the choices were Tower Dome, Harbor Dome, Sky Dome, and the Dome.
Wait, that's actually wholesome.
Were the four winning names.
I see they were smart enough to do pre-picked names. And not let people come up with their own
no, people did. What they did is they had people send in entries, and then the selection committee narrowed it down to four names.
I want to know whenever there's a contest like that, I want to know what the selection committee sifted through, because I will never forget the fucking name the new Mountain Dew flavor competition back when I was in like late elementary school, early middle school, and the prevailing meme that came out of that one. So that has forever like ruined the concept of that kind of competition in my brain. So I'm like, someone's just gonna submit something unhinged and dark, and if it gets public airplay, it's gonna get way too popular because everybody in this world is irony poisoned to shit.
And then the owner of the Toronto Blue Jays, Rogers Communications, bought the venue, and they renamed it to the Rogers Center.
Yes. Corporate America, Canada, whatever, wins again.
Yeah. Okay.
Fuck the Sky. That's what my homies are always saying. I hate the Sky. Fuck that shit.
What has the Sky ever done for me?
Blue? What an ugly color. Be more original. I want my sky bright pink. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That was a physical reference for you, Austin.
Well, that was a fun little dive into the history of the Sky Dome.
Thank you. I enjoy these little diversions.
Yeah, so WrestleMania 6, we last time we were here, we watched the Royal Rumble 1990.
Which was like before the Royal Rumble was actually important.
Now it was just like a cool it was a unique pay-per-view main event match. That's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like, why are we here? I don't know. Don't you like watching a bunch of dudes beat each other up? Well, now you got 30 of them. Have fun, kiddo.
Yeah, shut up.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, so we were neither of us were very high on the show. A bit of a
Yeah,
one
it
match
wasn't great.
show.
Yeah, it
Uh,
wasn't ideal.
the Bushwhackers defeated the Fabulous Rougeaus
Yeah,
in
that it
what
was.
passes for comedy wrestling in 1990.
I still struggle to understand anything that happened in that goddamn match. It was so like weirdly convoluted, and uh anyway.
Uh, the genius Lanny Poffo and Brutus Beefcake fought to a double DQ because because the barber knocked the ref and and Mr. Perfect came out to interfere when the barber tried to start cutting the genius's hair non-consensually.
Oh yeah. Hey, they're doing the whole use the run-in to further the true rivalry bit. Hey,
Yeah.
Nemo taught me that one.
Mm. Uh, Ronnie Garvin won a special submission match against Greg the Hammer Valentine with the Hammer Jammer, also known as the Sharpshooter.
Yeah.
And in what was the best match on the show that only I watched. So great.
Yeah.
A absolutely horrendous version of the Brother Love show happened where Brother Love and Queen Sherry brought out Sapphire to call her fat and ugly and dumb, and then when she tried to slap Sherry for it, Randy Savage ran out to hit Sapphire, which brought out Dusty to attack Savage.
Yes. That see, the funny thing is, overall, Dusty Rhodes versus Randy Savage is a rivalry that in theory I could get behind. It seems like a fun matchup. But it also seems like it's surrounding in some really stupid bullshit.
Yeah, a little bit. And then
It's not the dream.
and then the Boss Man Big Boss Man fought Jim Duggan, and the Big Boss Man got disqualified when Slick threw Boss Man his nightstick and the ref caught him using it like a
I just want to
dork.
say, Big Boss Man, who in theory exists, who everybody seems to know and talk about, except I've seen him maybe pop up all of once in the entire time we've done this podcast so far. So Big Boss Man to me is one of those like, yeah, he totally is real, but I have no I'm starting to get a little suspicious, Austin, that maybe the entire world is set out to gaslight me about the Big Boss Man's truth. For all I know, he was just some motherfucking jobber that popped up on that one time we saw him, and that was it. And then they just set to like trying to convince everybody that who wasn't in on the joke that no, he was a fucking legend of the company. I have yet to see proof, Austin.
It's tough because like a lot of his most famous stories I don't want to cover that badly.
Yeah,
I'll give a bit of a rundown of a few of them. Obviously, his prime WWF run. Golden age is what I mean by that is he was a tag team with Akeem, the African Dream, under Reverend Slick
talked about this
as the Twin Towers, a tag team name that will never be used again after 2001.
Oh no! Oh no!
But anyway, his kind of most famous single storyline in the 90s era, in the early 90s era, was when he had an absolutely abysmal feud with Nails, whose gimmick was that he was an escaped convict who the Boss Man abused in prison as his prison guard.
Boss Man was the face here, wasn't he?
Yes, and in fact,
of course
the Boss Man also doesn't like directly address those accusations. He's just like, if you'd seen this man's files, I tell you, he deserves to be in prison for life.
Look, Big Boss Man knows that as long as he keeps his trap shut about it, his fucking crooked ass superiors will keep everything clean for him. All right. He don't gotta say nothing. Just keep his profile low, and it'll all blow over. It'll get lost in the bureaucracy of
Listen,
complaint filing.
the big boss man was put on administrative leave, and in that time he discovered
Oh, well, that's
wrestling.
why he became a wrestler.
Yeah.
Oh shit! It's all coming together. Nails is I now need a gritty reboot of the Big Boss Man that dives deep into this.
As much as it's that would be fun to talk about the story of Nails, quite frankly. Sincerely, his out of the shit of his time in the WWF is insane, is amazing. But we will instead move on to the Big Boss Man's contributions to the Attitude Era. When he comes back, he goes hop on over to WCW for a bit as Big Bubba, where he does the exact same gimmick.
But why the fuck is there a cop named Big Bubba? That takes away from like the entire like that makes it feel like he's a missing Dudley boy. Why is he Big Bubba?
Because they wanted a name. But his time in WCW is entirely uninteresting. I think the most interesting factoid is that if you ask, he is the answer to the trivia question, who did Hulk Hogan face in the main event of the first episode of Nitro? The answer is Big Bubba.
Oh my fucking god, no way.
Yeah, the main event of the first Nitro is Hulk Hogan defending the WCW title against Big Bubba. Hogan wins, of course, and then Lex Luger comes out and challenges him for a match.
I just googled image Big Boss Man WCW, and I see one of Big Boss Man in riot gear, which makes me existentially sad.
Yeah, and welcome to the Attitude Era look.
Yeah, I figured that was the Attitude Era look, and I also saw that he joined the NWO because, of course, he did. Who the
Everyone did.
Yes. It is in a move that surprised nobody. Somebody working for WCW joined the NWO at some point.
Yeah, so the Big Boss Man was a regular, like, heavy stooge in the Attitude Era, usually for the corporation, probably most famously, but he would find plenty of controversial moments in the history of wrestling. In one of The Undertaker's worst WrestleMania matches, he fought The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 15, and the match ends when, after the match, The Undertaker, who at this point has the Ministry of Darkness with him, he takes a noose and hangs the Boss Man live on pay-per-view.
You know, that's probably in poor taste, but also from everything I know about the Big Boss Man, I would not terribly hate to see that image. I wouldn't be the worst thing I ever saw. I wouldn't make me upset,
Well, that's a little mean to say about a dead person.
Oh, this is true. This is true. Well, fuck. Now I'm an asshole. But
indeed.
But also,
anyway, back to other bad Big Boss Man stories or at least infamous ones. The one where he feuded with Al Snow that involved him killing Al Snow's dog and then cooking it and feeding it to Al Snow.
Ah, yes, the Cartman treatment.
He did Cartman him. And then
Bossman be like, nah, I made you eat your dog.
Yeah, he like licks up his tears. Al Snow's tears.
And it's all because Al Snow tricked the Big Boss Man into buying his pubes.
Yep, that's it. Yep, all very true. And then, of course, the Big Boss Man's feud with the Big Show. The most infamous moment of which is when the Big Show's father died. And then at the funeral, the Big Boss Man comes out, crashes the funeral, says he's gonna fuck the Big Show's mom, and then he runs off and he tows away the Big Show's father's casket.
Wow, my man just hit after hit, dub after dub in this man's career. I can see why he's such a revered legend of the industry.
Yeah. So anyway, the big boss man loses by DQ to Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Whoppity
Face.
whoppity whop. Then in the Royal Rumble match, a lot of fun times were had. Specifically for this arc, the most important thing is that the Ultimate Warrior and Hogan were in the ring together, 1v1, and the place went electric.
Yes. Oh my god, these people were going nuts for this shit. And like understandable for as much as the talk on the dirt sheet was that Ultimate Warrior couldn't wrestle for shit and Hogan was Hogan, all of which was true. If you were invested in the product, these were the two biggest and most exciting of boys. Seeing the two of them placed together in the ring admittedly would be an
Mhm.
insane deal back in that time.
And then Hogan, when Ultimate Warrior was on the ropes, caught by Rick Rude and Rick Martel, Hogan came over to bump into those two men, and it knocked Warrior off the apron.
Yeah,
Guh,
yeah,
guh.
yeah. I I really wish. I feel like we could have gotten an even more compelling story out of Warrior being the one to win that Rumble, but that's not gonna work for Hogan, dude. So he's just gonna they're just gonna get their moment, then Warrior's gonna fuck off.
Yeah, and of course Hulk Hogan won the Royal
Hulk Hogan,
Rumble.
WWE champion, who just needed to win this exhibition match because reasons. I They could have gotten so much heat off of Warrior beating Hogan in the Rumble. Why didn't they? It's so okay, whatever.
Yeesh.
Annoying.
Yeah, whatever. Fuck you, man.
Yeah,
Um.
old timey booking decisions continue to upset me.
Mhm. So in the in between, we are skipping ahead tonight to an episode of WWF Superstars. This arc will be featuring 2 episodes of WWF Superstars, which is kind of the A show for WWE in terms of like major plot progression happening, and 1 episode of Prime Time Wrestling, just for a bit of a new variety. At this point in
Oh,
time, Primetime Wrestling has always kind of been a recap the beats from other shows show.
and also like talk a lot about house shows.
They do. They really
Yeah.
pitch those house shows.
Oh my.
But it's a way to kind of break up the monotony of just watching superstar episodes of Superstars.
Yeah. You know what? We've watched primetime wrestling in the past, and like for as much as like I recall them being not great, I do appreciate the like switch up in format. Keeps things
Mhm.
fresh. No.
Yeah, so tonight we're going to watch the February 3rd, 1990 episode
Ooh,
of WWF Superstars. And
hell yeah.
since then, we have had not only an episode of Primetime Wrestling, but also an episode of Saturday night's main event.
Oh shit, the
It has
C
been a
show
long
shit.
time since we've talked about or explained SNME, as the kids call it.
Ah yes.
So
I gr- I know so many kids and they all call it that. True.
yeah.
Uh
So
yeah.
I'll go ahead and explain. Is basically in the mid to late 80s and 90s, the WWE, Vince McMahon had a really great relationship with NBC, specifically Dick Ebersol, who ran NBC.
Yeah.
And so during weeks where Saturday Night Live was on hiatus, Dick Ebersol gave that time slot to Vince and the WWF.
So
And
insane.
they ran a show at 11 p.m. On Saturday nights.
I mean, to be fair, that is a prime spot considering who they're covering for.
Yeah. And so those shows were kind of, in many ways, kind of mini pay-per-views, or at least in the beginning, for sure. They were kind of like this is where big matches and big stars will wrestle.
Yeah, this is where the big stars are actually allowed to meet up and not just
No
be
jobber
squashes all the time.
squashes here, fellas.
Oh my god, fucking Primetime especially is egregious on the jobber squash thing.
I mean, they all are. All of their WWF Superstars, the Wrestling Challenge, WWF Wrestling Challenge, which was the B show, Primetime Wrestling, they all were nothing but jobber squash matches every week.
Yeah, if you were lucky, you would get like one in the main event that was like a bit more high profile.
Which again, that was the style of the times. And if I was a wrestling fan in 1990, I wouldn't think that was weird. That's what everybody did, not just WWF. In the other
that was like
wrestling was also like that.
Well, because that was still television wrestling in its infancy.
Yeah, like, if you look at where the money was coming from, wrestling companies weren't getting big TV money like you see today. Their big money came from live gates. So they did what was financially made the most sense. Big matches happen on live shows. The TV shows exist as advertisements to get you to want to come to a live show.
The team up of the Mega Powers the first time happened on Saturday Night's Main Event, right?
Yeah. So stuff
so
definitely happened. So in comparison, stuff happens on Saturday Night's Main Event.
Yes. Things are advanced. And that was legitimately a big, great moment.
Yeah. So by 1990, I mean, just like everything, the WWF is not at its hottest at this. It is still at a hot what really kills them is the Desert Storm bullshit and then the steroid trial. That's what really kills the peak.
That's what plunges them into the hellish depths of the new generation.
But 1990, it's in the peak era, but not we're on the downslope.
We've just come over the crest, and the descent is we're on the precipice of it.
Yeah, so this was this is actually the 25th Saturday Night's Main Event, even though they do not, in fact, make a note of that.
Oh shit, that's more Saturday Night's Main Events than I thought there would be.
Now there is actually I gotta break because they brought back Saturday Night's Main Events in the early 2000s, so I gotta try to break this up. There were 31 Saturday Night's Main Events in the original run of the show from 1985 to 1992. And then in 2006, they tried to bring back the gimmick, and they did run 5 of those shows from 2006 to 2008.
Well, yeah, and then they did just Main Event, which was not.
There's also the Main Event, which airs on Friday night in prime time.
Which is lame, and I feel like they should have made an extension of that brand because I just think it's cute, but whatever.
Yeah, so the 25th Saturday Night's Main Event. I admittedly should have taken better notes on these results, but I remember the important thing that happened coming out of this show. Randy Savage, with some cheating chicanery, defeated Jim Duggan, which was a pretty significant moment because there was a big rematch from when Savage won the crown to become king from Jim Duggan. And so this was a revenge match situation. But Sherry had a loaded purse and that she passed off to Savage, and Savage used it to beat Duggan in 9 minutes 14 seconds, the longest match on the show. It's pretty long for TV wrestling, for WWF TV wrestling in 1990.
In 1990, yeah. Man, that's how you know it's a big fucking deal. And it still ends with cheating McCheaters bullshit. Because of course it does.
And then in the big main event match of the show that was second, because again, they book these shows with an understanding that they're starting at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night. We kind of need to open hot and we don't end with the best match on the show. But the big marquee match was Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior versus Mr. Perfect and the Genius.
Ooh. Oh shit, that's an interesting. Wait, why the fuck are Perfect and Genius going up against Hogan and
because Perfect is still beefing with
because
Hogan.
Perfect is beefing with Hogan, which we saw in the Rumble. Yep.
Yeah. So, and a bit of a clever trick here, because as you might guess, these shows were taped several weeks in advance. So this show was taped on January 3rd. It aired on January 27th, before the Rumble, and yet they managed to work in the storyline Hogan and Warrior, despite the fact that on TV none of this had started yet.
I will say that it probably, I don't know how intentional this was. That would explain like why they had the thing with fucking Genius and Brutus Beefcake, right?
Yeah, that would actually make sense, because Hogan's bestest buddy, Brutus Beefcake.
Yeah. Well, because like, but like the chicanery with that really happened at the Rumble. So like, on top of them wanting to push Warrior to the moon alongside Hogan, like it wouldn't fully make sense for them to plot Brutus Beefcake into that matchup for something that like was taped pre-Rumble.
Yes. But the story going in is like Jesse Ventura alongside, being the heel commentator on this show. He commentates with Vince on Saturday night's main events. He and Perfect and Genius are selling the idea of like Hogan and Warrior aren't a real tag team. They can't be. They don't know each other like Perfect and the Genius.
Oh no, they're not asking. Don't tell me they're asking. Don't
they
no
exist?
You stop it. No.
Admittedly, they actually do coexist just fine in the match.
Well,
and
that's
in fact
refreshing.
The match kind of falls apart for the heels, because at a certain point, Lanny Poffo says, "Fuck this! I'm gonna go write more poetry instead of getting my ass kicked."
Why is that me as a wrestler?
But so Hogan and Warrior win, but after the match, the heels try to beat down on Hogan, and Warrior runs in for the save, and he's going crazy. He's clotheslining everybody. He's barely looking at where he's going. And when Hogan gets up, Warrior accidentally clotheslines Hogan too.
Man, so much heat is built off of like accidental junction malfunction.
They're trying to build animosity without either man doing anything morally dubious.
Yeah, well, but then they both come across like petty assholes, because they can't just sit down and be like, "Hey, why'd you clothesline me like that, brother?"
What we got here.
So sometimes when a man is in the darkest depths of the night, he cannot see that which lay before him in all its glory, and he tramples on it. Speak to me, my warrior. Like, you'd think they could have somewhat of a sensible conversation about
what we got here is a failure to communicate.
True.
But that was the big story beat coming out of this episode of Saturday Night's Main Event, is that the Warrior accidentally attacked Hogan. And of course, the heels are like, see, he did it intentionally.
Yeah, fuck that.
And then we had Jake Roberts versus Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Oh.
In a 5-minute match that ends in DQ, as I mentioned this last time, but since then, Jake has stolen the $1 million title from Ted DiBiase, and not just that, he is also keeping it in the bag with Damien. And in fact, he even on this show, he opens the bag and pulls out Damien, and he has Damien is coiled around the $1 million championship.
That's actually really sick. I can't lie.
Yeah.
That's sick as fuck. That actually is awesome.
This match ends in a DQ because Virgil and DiBiase interfere to try to get the belt back. It doesn't work because Virgil is too afraid to stick his hand in the bag and get the belt.
Oh my god. What good is Ted DiBiase's manservant if he's afraid of a will snake, huh? Get better help.
Yeah. Then in Dusty Rhodes versus Rick Rude end in a double count out. in what is, in my book, a completely ridiculous bullshittery happening in this match, quite frankly, as Sapphire and Heenan get into it at ringside.
Mhm.
The ref ejects them both. And then later in the match, Sapphire comes back in the front row holding a ticket so she can't get kicked out again.
Oh my god. That's so
Don
stupid.
Callis should have been taking notes.
True. I was gonna say, in terms of heel tactics, it's so stupid it shoots the moon back to being brilliant.
Except Sapphire's a baby face.
Oh, wait.
Because she's with Dusty.
Oh, she's with Dusty. Fuck, I got her mixed up with Sherry. Shit. Then that's as face tactics go.
Noted babyface Sapphire refusing to accept the referee's call that you are disqualified from the match.
She is now a paying customer, and any good business would know you do not mess with your paying customers, sir.
Sure. I want to know who gave her the ticket, because I'm pretty sure this show would not have front row seats available for purchase.
Ooh. Was there somebody on the inside? Did Sapphire?
Yeah, who does Sapphire have as an inside man? We need to know.
True.
Anyway, Rick Rude decides to harass her at ringside, and this takes Dusty, and they start brawling to the outside, and they just kind of keep punching each other until they both get counted out. Very classic 80s wrestling trope of the double count out, because they're just brawling on the outside.
So much bullshit.
And then in our main event, in the shortest match of the evening, because again, front load the show, Dino Bravo beat Ronnie Garvin.
Okay, wow, that sure sounds important.
Absolutely nothing happened there.
Yeah.
Then in prime time wrestling, you'd think a lot of the show is there to kind of talk about stuff that happened at the Royal Rumble, because this episode of Primetime aired on January 29th, 1990. So the first show since weekly TV show since the Royal Rumble.
Ooh.
And so, first of all, the hyped up main event is a replay of the Hogan Warrior tag match from Saturday night's main event.
Why not?
It's fine. I didn't watch that for reasons I'll explain when we get to it. But the first match of the show, apparently debuting recently in this company, is Tugboat. Wins the squash match.
Huh, that guy. Interesting.
Yeah, so Tugboat is in the future, the other half of the natural disasters Typhoon.
Okay.
But he comes into the company as Tugboat, and he looks like Popeye the Sailor Man a little bit, except in like red and white candy stripes.
Yeah, we can't get too close to that copyright,
But they call it out, in fact. They Monsoon and Bobby Heenan are like, yeah, he looks a lot like a guy in a cartoon.
Yes. For legal reasons, we can't say which one, but he sure looks like a guy in a cartoon.
They want you to get Popeye vibes from this guy, and he's like, toot toot, Tugboat, toot toot.
There's also a special irony in them going for like nearly identical but legally distinct shit here, and then suing the pants off the NWO for like remotely implying that Scott Hall was still Razor Ramon.
So Tugboat cuts a whole promo about how the smallest tugboat can pull such large vessels. Imagine what a tugboat my size, because he's like the size of Earthquake.
I was gonna say
he's like 400 pounds. He's the size.
I was gonna say this motherfucker isn't calling himself small, is he?
No, he's saying you see how small real tugboats are. Imagine what a tugboat my size can do to all the boats, the mighty boats in the WWF.
I guarantee you Vince like came up with that analogy and thought it was the single most brilliant thought that any human ever had, and that's where the gimmick came from. He's like I need to push this analogy onto TV. Who's this new guy coming in? Yeah, that'll work. Yeah,
so Tuggity Tugboat he wins this match, and the Monsoon brings up, hey Heenan, maybe you should get a guy like Tugboat for you should become his manager. And Heenan's like, nah, he's too nice. Tugboat is too nice of a guy to join my stable.
Hey, at least he's honest about it, Heenan knows he's a bastard and he'll lean into it. I respect.
Yeah, They talk about how I have the results here. I'm just gonna read now. They talk about the WrestleMania 6 being in Toronto. Heenan makes a joke about he makes an exchange rate joke because Bobby Monsoon is kind of like, well, I wonder how many fans we can stick in there. 80,000, 90,000, and Heenan goes, well, it'd be more like 60,000 if you count it Canadian.
Oh my god. That's actually kind of funny. God damn it.
The Powers of Pain won a squash match. Whoopity doo. The Rockers do a split screen promo because they're still beefing with the Powers of Pain.
Whoopity doo.
Yeah, whoopity doo. Really funny bit in between matches here as Gorilla Monsoon, as they're throwing to commercial break, is like tells the people at home, he's like, hey, if you need to go get a sandwich, now's the time. And we cut back from commercial, and Bobby Heenan has went and gotten a sandwich. And Gorilla's like, I wasn't talking to you.
I love them. I love the two of them together so much. Oh my god, it's so adorable.
And Monsoon's like, I'm 90% of the time I'm talking to the people out there. I'm not talking to you. And Heenan goes, it's like, well, I guess the good thing you didn't tell everyone to go jump off a bridge while you're going to break.
Thank you, Heenan. What?
He was implying that Heenan would have went and jumped off a bridge if that's what Monsoon had said to going into break.
Okay.
All right, and then they replay the Ronnie Garvin Dino Bravo match, except I didn't watch it because this is from a YouTube rip of these episodes, and they actually cut out some stuff. I don't know if it's a quality control issue or if they just cut out things that are blatant, re-airs of other shows, matches. I don't actually know. But they cut this Ronnie Garvin Dino Bravo replay, so I actually missed this. I didn't actually rewatch the match. They just cut straight from like them throwing to the match to them Heenan and Monsoon being back in the studio.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, we see another Jake Roberts squash, and it has another attempt by DiBiase and Virgil to get the belt back, and it still does not work.
Yes.
There will actually be a payoff to all this on this episode. I skimmed through Superstars, so I would make sure this is the one I wanted. And there is actually going to be a payoff to this stuff with the belt.
Oh my. The most riveting storyline in all of wrestling. I'm very excited.
Heenan and Monsoon have a funny bit where basically Monsoon, because he's a babyface, largely justifies the theft of the belt. And Heenan is like, it's a good thing that criminals don't have you as an attorney. They'd be all free walking the streets, and he's like, convenience stores better be careful. A Gorilla Monsoon, his family, they're all thieves. You're gonna be out for blood. Better be careful.
He just went from the lawyer of the thieves to the thief himself. Pick an analogy, Heenan. Jesus.
Yeah. It's great. Sean Mooney gets a lot of cut-ins to just kind of do some he does the event center promos, aka the house show advertisements. I don't remember a lot of them, but I do remember Bad News Brown talking about how tough he had to grow up because he grew up with 5 sisters and 14 brothers. And I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it's okay.
I think he might have been borrowing from Stu Hart's family tree there, actually.
Yeah, the point of the promo is how that his mama taught him that he has to fight for what he wants because he had to, when he was growing up, he had to fight to not go hungry with all them siblings.
Oh boy. Well, I'm very sorry for you, and I'm sure that gives you a real reason to be an asshole in the ring.
Mm-hmm. We see a Rick Martel squash match. Keenan, after the match, claims that Rick Martel was given a very lucrative offer to model in France, but he turned it down because he wanted to stay in the WWF.
Yes, if I had a choice between those two.
The Rockers put on a squashity squash match, and then we get an earthquake match, and then they replay. Oh boy, I forgot about this part. So after the earthquake match, Heenan points out there's a little gorilla stuffed animal doll on Gorilla's side of the desk because
Aw.
Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Heenan just out of nowhere just goes, "Hey, when did you get that new Sapphire doll?"
Oh no, Bobby. God fucking.
Yeah. Ooh.
Ooh, boy.
They replay the brother love segment from the Rumble. Great.
Cool.
Dusty Rhodes is a Dusty Rhodes squash match. More event center promos. We got to hear a promo from the Brooklyn Brawler and the Red Rooster, where I learned that the Red Rooster calls his fans, all three of them, the Rooster Boosters.
Damn. I was really hoping there'd be a cock joke in there. God damn it.
No, it's just lame.
It's just stupid. I wonder why nobody remembers who the fuck this guy is.
Oh no, people remember who the fuck the Red Rooster is, but not positively.
Oh no.
We got to see a Rhythm and Blues tag match. That is, as a reminder, Greg and the Hammer Valentine and the Honky Tonk Man. And then there was a Jake Roberts promo where Ted DiBiase laid out the challenge to fight DiBiase on an upcoming episode of WWF Superstars. I believe this episode, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
And Jake Roberts accepts.
Oh.
Yes, it was. So that is what is the one thing advertised for this episode going into it, is we're going to have Ted DiBiase versus Jake Roberts on Superstars.
It's good to know that even in 1990, they were allergic to like fully announcing cards ahead of time.
I mean, you don't need to hear how everyone is in action.
This is actually no, that's a fair point. It was more justified in 1990.
Mm-hmm. The Brooklyn Brawler wins a jobber squash match. Whoopity wop wop whoop.
Yeah, good for him. Man, back before the days where he was on the winning end of jobber, or back in the days when he was on the winning end of jobber squashes.
Yeah, back before they were like, "You're the jobber now."
You look at me. I am the jobber now.
Yeah, the Brooklyn Brawler.
Yes.
And then and then we get a replay of the Saturday Night Main Event tag match, except we don't, because the person who did the YouTube rip of this cut that match out. I'm fine with that. I don't need to see it again.
Yeah, true.
So that's kind of the rundown of what's happened on these last, pretty eventful for all considering, like, we are what is this Saturday Night's Main Event and the episode of Primetime.
Pretty eventful. It does sound like, although your boy the noob is still very bad at keeping track of who the fuck half these people are and what their deal is. So I'm just kind of like, yep, those are some guys, and they sure are being dudes.
Hey.
But so we're gonna check out more guys being dudes. Hey, bada bing.
Yeah. So again, all right. Tonight we are going to watch the February 3rd, 1990 episode of WWF Superstars. You can watch along with us, not on Peacock. Peacock stops putting up episodes of Superstars, I believe, in late '89.
Ooh.
There are lengthy swaths of time where WWE just does not have their weekly programming up. Maybe if we were still on the network, we could have gotten a bit more of these. But on Peacock, it is what it is. There is a very lovely YouTube channel that, again, I don't wish to say out loud on this podcast, because I don't want to necessarily encourage people to find these YouTube channels, because then maybe what happens if YouTube copyright claims them.
Yes,
but there's a very lovely YouTube channel out there that's putting up a lot of the weekly shows in WWE and WCW in the late 80s and early 90s.
Not all
So
heroes have capes. Some run YouTube channels. This is true.
indeed. So they will be very helpful in this arc full of shows that are not available legally at this point in
Absolutely.
time. But we will be back in the back half to discuss the first episode of Superstars post the Royal Rumble.
Fuck yeah.
And we are back. We have finished the February 3rd, 1990 episode of WWF Superstars.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I forgot the sheer level of filler that these fucking shows are.
The stars are here and they do be super.
The stars are here, and so are a bunch of jabroni ass jobbers who you don't even know the fucking names of. Fuck you.
Yeah. So I have a lot of fun with these shows anyway.
Yeah,
but...
no, there are things to say, and I can appreciate the like sheer lack of concentration that most of the runtime demands of me. But
no, you think I got dedicated match notes for anything?
Oh,
absolutely
no!
Not.
It's all just a string of well that match happened. Take a wild guess who won it.
Yeah,
Superstar with a name or random motherfucker who doesn't even get an intro. What?
I make multiple jokes about not knowing the names of these guys until mid-match.
Damn, you even caught the mid-match. It's better than I did.
I did. I think I got all of their names except I think the second one. I don't think I got their name.
I don't even know any of them. I think maybe I caught one-ish, but I'm not even sure if I had it right. I'll ask you when we get there.
Sure. But this show, we open with Vince McMahon welcoming us to the city of Birmingham. Vince McMahon does some light Birmingham, Alabama tourism. And he's like, look at the beautiful skyline here, and the Great Bear Bryant, and the Roman soldiers overlooking the city.
Yeah, that was I don't know like what fucking tourist department paid him to do that shit, but he was giving that city some gold for a hot second.
Cut to Vince and Jesse blatantly green screened into
Oh, were they? I didn't catch that.
There's no way they were there live. They did not look like they were in sync with the crowd screaming behind them.
Oh, really? Damn, I didn't catch that.
If they were it was either a really shitty shot or they were green screened in.
That's funny. That's really funny.
But because this is the only time we see them together in the show, so
the pre-tapedness of these episodes, the pre-tape, like when wrestling pre-tapes, it's always a little bizarre. I feel like because there's always a certain level of like, this is not live, so we're going to edit shit, and it never feels natural. Like just how Rampage invariably always has one match that just got cut a little bit for time, and they just randomly, without a remote semblance of a segue, just cut to commercial at a random moment, and then cut back.
Those are so fucking. I hate that so bad.
I know, but it happens fucking every Rampage. There's always one match that happens with.
It does. But anyway, I didn't catch the first half of this quip, but I thought it was funny to bring up anyway. Vince is salivating over the Roman architectural history of the Birmingham or whatever, and he's got something you know nothing about, Jesse. And Jesse's like, Romans? Vince goes, working.
Oh wait, was that the was that the exchange? Because I had, so Vince is talking about the Roman a Roman statue specifically of the god Vulcan, and Jesse goes, why would they have a statue of a vulture? No, and Vince goes, no, Vulcan. What was that?
Oh, good. There were more bits I missed. But
yeah.
if the end is the punchline, he says something you know nothing about, Jesse. Romans working. And then Jesse goes, I used to work.
The quips between Jesse and Vince never make any goddamn sense.
They feel more mean-spirited than any other commentary group together at this point.
Well, they make
time.
yeah, no, because like Gorilla and Heenan are like they're just good-natured ribbing.
Yeah,
all
it
the
feels
time.
it feels like it feels like we're supposed to be like ha ha goofy joke in here, and
Yeah,
then
but the
like
problem is
Gorilla.
there's no pun with Vince and Jesse.
Yeah, I meant with Heenan and Gorilla. I mean,
Oh,
There's-
yeah.
is like yeah, and then Gorilla and Jesse play together pretty straightforward overall. There's not really a jokiness to their dynamic.
Yeah.
Vince feels like he is like trying to insult Jesse Ventura on commentary. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah,
Watch.
because there is never any joke. It's just Vince being an asshole to Jesse.
Yeah,
But
and
it's
like
justified because Jesse's the heel. Waka waka.
right, but I will say a lot like Vince's later spots with like women. It feels there is a certain level of grossness to watching Vince play this character this way with Jesse, because like Vince is the boss of this person that he is just shitting on commentary.
Well, ever since he brought that whole union idea to me, I really never liked the guy.
Holy fuck! What if that is something to do with it?
I wouldn't. That was the thing. I had that thought partway through of like, I wonder if Vince is this much of a dick to Jesse, partly because of the union thing. Like, what? Would you be remotely surprised if Vince was so incensed at the notion that Jesse tried to get some labor organization going that he's like, all right, I'm just going to get my licks in by abjectly shitting on you on commentary with no pun, with no joke.
Because that would have already happened by this point.
Yeah. Yeah, the fuck it would have.
So, holy shit, you've cracked the case for me here.
Look, man, I just sometimes have my moments, my big brain moments on this show. I think this needs to get added to those echelons. I've discovered, I've ascended to a new level of understanding.
Yeah. So the first match of the show is Dusty Rhodes versus a Jobber. I wrote Lord Alfred Hayes and Tony Schiavone on commentary. Got to get through those Schiavone.
Wait, that was
backlogs.
Schiavone?
Yeah, it was Lord Alfred and Tony Schiavone.
For some reason, I thought it was like Alfred and Vince.
Nah. Tony is too busy talking about Dusty dancing for me to be able to hear Howard Finkel name the jobber. Sapphire shakes her ass at that the jobber is how I wrote it. And then Tony mentions his name, Tony Burton. And I'm like, hey, there's the name. All right. Dusty Rhodes versus Tony Burton.
That is a name. That is certainly a name.
I don't think Tony Burton hit a move as Dusty wins.
No, Dusty just murders him.
Yeah, Dusty hits his moves and he hits the big elbow drop for the win, and that's it. That's where.
Dude, I have to say, for as much as the whole like they put him in polka dots and made him dance thing like is a meme, it sure doesn't change what a stone cold badass Dusty Rhodes was in the ring.
It kind of doesn't. I feel like the polka dot dancing gimmick is like, it's not necessarily that it kills Dusty's character in and of itself, because I think he actually does a pretty good job of overcoming the goofiness of that. Still kind of
he makes it work. Like it makes him just feel like affable and likable.
Yeah, I think it's
and then you watch him in ring and he kicks ass.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more about like the symbolism of what this means backstage, that like, you got like this the American dream Dusty Rhodes, this amazing working man's baby face. And we're going to put him in polka dots and make him a dancing buffoon.
Yes. Simply because like Vince is salty about the territories.
Yeah. Vince is such an interesting character, and when he is willing to be like in how he is willing to treat his enemies. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he is willing to take this stance of like, I won. So like the fact that you are working for me is already a dub for me. That's been a lot of people have hypothesized. That's really why he never truly says he's always willing to bring people back, because he sees it as kind of a victory that they had to come back to him. That's why he never stopped giving Jeff Jarrett jobs as much as he clearly hates Jeff Jarrett, is because that it's a win every time that Jeff Jarrett has to ask Vince McMahon for a job.
Admit him. Yeah, like Vince is just so like Vince has such a complex about like being needed. But
at the same time, like you get, especially when you look at these, like his real competition, like NWA guys and then WCW guys, there's a real, like, I am going to embarrass you because I'm in control now attitude to Vince McMahon. He has always had, and is one of the bigger complaints about him is how much money that Vince probably has left on the table because he just absolutely refuses to respect or be dignified with the big stars that he eventually scoops up.
Yeah, one of the wildest things about the fucking pipe bomb promo is the line of he's a millionaire who should be a billionaire, but he's a fucking moron or whatever. Like, that is so 100 billion% true. Like, Vince could be rolling in even more cash if he weren't such a spiteful, like, emotionally baggaged up prick.
Mm-hmm. And it's a lot worse for the WCW guys, I think, than anything
else.
It's...
Well, yeah, even fucking Bischoff, like, who got some of the most dignity out of that whole deal, like, still was brought on to be, like, the most maniacal prick in all of, like, WWE, like, on-screen middle management.
I think at that point, Vince took a lot of pleasure in the fact that both of his competitors now worked for him. Like,
yeah, but the thing is, Heyman had a lot, did not have that problem. Like, Heyman got a lot more.
I think people that come willingly kind of accept defeat are treated a lot differently. I think you see
that's
that
what I'm saying. Is like,
I think you see that with the ECW guys. Is that
pretty
much all those guys came over because, God damn it, we need to have a paying job
fucking
here.
Money.
And they are all treated most with it, except for Taz because he was short and Vince hates short people. We're all and Raven because he hates Raven as a person. But the guys who Vince most could have gotten something out of, he mostly treated with respect.
Yeah, like,
because they came to him.
Like, even fucking, like, RVD got to, like, murderize Cena at
RVD would have been a multi-time world champion if he didn't get busted for weed, and Vince decided, I can never trust you again.
And I can never trust. And then cut to how many years later? I remember, like, I think I sent you that video of, like, RVD, like, giving Vince a, like, weed related gift at a thing. I fucking can't remember, but I remember seeing this video where, like all those years later, RVD and Vince were buddying up, and I think there was, like, weed-based humor involved in that. I don't know.
But anyway, yeah, Dusty wins. He's not doing half bad with this gimmick, but it's a sign of, like, how much you are respected backstage.
Yeah, very much so.
We were going to cut to Gorilla and Heenan, but this video skipped that entirely. I assumed it was just a repeat of something from Primetime Wrestling. That's why.
Yeah, well, but we do then get a fucking recap of the Royal Rumble match between Brutus Beefcake, Lanny Poffo, and the whole.
Yeah, we had to
the hair cutting.
We throw to Mean Gene Okerlund in the studio.
Yes. We get a recap of it, and there's literally nothing to add. It's just what we watched. There was nothing added to it. It's just here to advertise the Royal Rumble VHS.
Yeah, I did make a note of the Coliseum video coming out this Thursday. Also, I made a note of Tony Schiavone really wants the Genius to be bald, showing he's always been vengeful as fuck.
Jesus Christ.
You know, because Schiavone was on commentary being like, take some off the sides. Forget it. Take it all.
I missed that. Oh, my God. That's so dumb, but I love it.
Mm-hmm. They Perfect and Beefcake cut promos against each other. It's nothing special, really. Though Beefcake is apparently all in a state because Perfect attacked him and tried to take him out. He's going crazy. Apparently, he wasn't crazy before.
Dude, fucking Brutus is like wearing what I can only describe as a slutty Jack Skellington cosplay.
Continue.
Because he's got like a bow tie and like I don't know how to properly describe them, but they look like those things like fucking 16-year-old emo chicks get at Hot Topic, where it's the arm thing that it goes over like the arm and like the glove over the hand, but cuts off at the fingers, and it's all like Jack Skellington pinstriped, and he's shirtless. So like that's just where my mind went.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Quite frankly.
And I said that he was also trying to do his best Ultimate Warrior impression, but like really the Ultimate Warrior style of promo was just the style du jour
That's just
of
what
this
everyone
era.
does. That's just what everyone does.
Warrior just distilled it down to its purest form.
Mm-hmm. Then we get their match number 2, Rick the Model Martel versus a jobber. Martel is right. I wrote Martel rightfully is still mad that Beefcake cut up Martel's streaker raincoat.
Well, yeah, Beefcake's fucking running roughshod. I mean, again, this motherfucker like non-consensually gives people haircuts. Poor Lanny's
and
got
it's
like
all
a whole
fine, and it's all fine
going.
because it's all fine because Rick Martel's jacket is ugly.
Yeah,
so
he's a meanie butt, and his jacket is ugly. Me.
Yeah, Reno Riggins is the name of the jobber of this match. Vince pointed out on commentary a few times.
Oh, well, cool. That's a name.
Vince is giving props to Rick Martel and is like, he's got a real panache in the ring. And Jesse's like, what does that mean? Panache.
Yeah. Jesse doesn't understand what the fuck the word panache is.
And Vince is like, never mind. Then we get this crazy shit here where they dub in Howard Finkel to run local event ads.
Yeah, what? Well, specifically to like advertise a show that is apparently happening on the day, night, whatever this is being aired.
Good bit there. Did they not know how to use ticker? Have they not figured that out yet?
I don't. It's so wild how different the business was in 1990. They're just like, oh yeah, no, come on down right the fuck now to a live show.
To be fair, this show probably could have aired. This probably aired earlier in the day. I don't know if this was their Saturday morning show or not. It might have been.
But still, the fact that they're like advertising it like that, it's like, oh yeah, there's a show today. Come see it live. It's like and the fact that like you wouldn't risk like everything being sold out as fuck like that. It's just so bizarre.
Yeah, so Rick Martel wins with a real nasty running backbreaker, and then he goes to the camera and is like, Beefcake, this is for you. And he puts him in a Boston Crab for the win.
Yeah, that was a short bit of another murder. That was a whole we just two fucking murders in a row. These jobbers aren't getting like a single move off.
No, they're not. We cut to Sean Mooney in the WWF Event Center, or we would.
Never mind.
Except they cut the video we watched of this, cut that part 2. Straight to Jim Duggan versus Mike Davis.
I can confirm what I thought I saw last time in the crowd. They are indeed just selling fucking foam 2x4s to kids as merchandise. I'm surprised they didn't just sell actual 2x4s at that rate. Would have been even cheaper.
I mean, that could be considered a child hazard. To just sell planks of wood to children.
But it just cracks me up. Hey kids, here's a fucking rectangle of foam with like a bit of like fake wood decaling on the front. Have fun.
Yep. So Mac Davis immediately powders out of the ring when Duggan gets in. Vince asked Jesse in one of the meaner things Vince has said about a baby face on commentary here, is he asked Jesse if he thinks Jim Duggan is a throwback to an earlier age of man, like a Cro-Magnon.
I mean, as much as I enjoy being mean to Jim Duggan, that sure is weird coming from Vince.
Yeah, and then Jesse's like, I just think he's an uneducated idiot.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Jesse calls Hacksaw stupid. Vince counters this by by questioning Jesse's grammar in comparison to Hacksaw's.
Yeah, he's trying to imply Jesse is stupid.
but specifically by interrogating his grammar and nothing else. Where is the basis for that? To which Jesse counters to say that he is a national announcer listened to by millions of people, which automatically means he has good grammar. What are these exchanges? Why are these two on commentary? There is no chemistry here.
Yeah, Jesse does also make a good point that Jim Duggan is also ugly.
He sure is an ugly motherfucker. Jesse's like every time that hacksaw comes out, I go, ooh, ew, yucky, bleh, every time. And you know what? Based. Jesse just starts fucking hawking up.
Every time Jim Duggan goes to a movie theater, he has to make sure that he has to apologize to the people sitting near him for his uncontrollable ugliness.
Jim Duggan with his fucking goes to a movie theater, whacks someone in the head with his 2x4 as he goes to sit down, turns to them and goes, "Oh, am I ugly?"
I'm ugly and I'm proud. I'm ugly and I'm proud. Ho!
Unironically, I could see him actually saying that line is the best part.
Now for the story of the ugly wrestler.
No, the ugly 2x4. There once was a 2x4
that was so ugly that everyone died. The end.
And then Jim Duggan looks horrified at the storyteller for a second before going, "Oh!"
Oh, anyway, they fight on the outside a little bit. Oh, God, something exciting and new. Jim Duggan throws Mike Davis back in the ring, blah, 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 punches. Then he does a 3-point stance like in football and then runs at him to clothesline him, which doesn't feel like the most efficient use of your motion.
Is that is that not like his finisher? I just assume
no,
it
is.
Finisher.
It is. Okay. I just find that stupid.
You know what? Fair. I can't question that.
Anyway, it's a clothesline for the dub, and Jesse Ventura goes, "The late Bear Bryant would have liked that one." Very funny.
I don't.
Bear Bryant is the legendary football coach for the University of Alabama. Before the current coach, Nick Saban, won a bazillion national titles. Bear Bryant was the winningest and most national winningest coach in the history of Alabama football.
Oh, shit. Well, that's insane. Okay. I'm so glad that I have my CFB expert here to guide me through these sports ball references.
So we cut to Sean Mooney, except we do not.
Except we do not. I really have to say, man, we got fucking 3 matches in roughly 15 minutes. Tony Khan wishes he could stuff his cards like this. God damn.
We gotta get more matches.
We gotta get more matches. Shane's not here, but more matches are.
More matches.
Yeah, no, this channel really fucking hates Sean Mooney in the control center.
Fuck you, man. Anyway.
Fuck that guy.
Then we get Ted DiBiase is in the ring with Reverend Slick. This is interesting.
Oh, yeah. Ted has both of his we're totally not racist caricatures black sidekicks with him. Ted DiBiase's over here saying, "I have black friends." This is true.
The fact that he buys Sapphire is much worse than him him aligning with Slick for a moment.
What?
Yeah, that's where that storyline leads eventually. He buys Sapphire.
What?
No. Add on, he gets a second black person that he kind of owns. Great.
Bad touch.
Anyway, this as Howard Finkel calls him, the so-called $1 million champion. Owned.
Yeah, or the self-titled, I think, or something like that.
Owned. We get the one match between 2 stars here. Ted DiBiase versus Jake Roberts.
Yeah, which starts off okay until like 2 minutes in, Jake the dumbass just gets himself locked into the ropes.
Is insane. So he does a shoulder block to DiBiase, backs into the ropes, and somehow gets trapped.
Somehow gets tangled in the ropes by like gently backing it. What?
So
How did you do that?
So while Jake is trapped, DiBiase is punching Jake and he's yelling at Virgil to go get the goddamn bag. And Virgil's like, "No, man, I'm not doing it. I'm scared
Is that
of
what it was?
snakes."
I thought he was yelling at Virgil to just like do shenanigans on
No,
Jake Roberts from the
he
other
was
side.
asking while Jake was incapacitated to go get the belt.
Okay.
And Virgil's like, "No way."
Yeah. Apparently Virgil is like scared of snakes in kayfabe. So but then again Ted probably is too. That
Yeah,
pussy.
so I mean, DiBiase and Jake have a decent back and forth in this match here.
Like, yeah, no, it's not bad.
It is a sight for sore eyes after 3 jobber squash matches in 15
Yeah,
minutes.
no, I mean those jobber squashes were nice, quick, and efficient. I didn't even have time to lose interest because the interest never built in the first place. But like, also like, something I caught on commentary. I wasn't sure if this is for shoot or not. Jake suffered a severed vertebrae.
That's probably legit. That's probably a legitimate injury. Just that I don't remember them ever working that as an angle, so I'm just gonna assume it's legit.
Fuck, that sounds horrifying.
Yeah.
Also, man, a phrase they used on commentary during this match, which is a phrase I hear very commonly in wrestling, talking about how there is no love lost between Jake the Snake and Ted DiBiase. I think no love lost is perhaps my favorite wrestling trope line because like it's no
love lost. The future, the sequel to Love Never Dies that I think we really need out in the world.
No,
anyway, continue.
Yeah. No. It's actually the long lost sequel to Shakespeare's Love's Labor's Lost.
Okay.
Love lost.
That's where we learned that the Love's Labor was actually not lost.
Was actually the Love's Labor was actually the friends we made along the way.
Yes.
They're actually, fun fact, because when the fuck do I ever get to talk about my special interests on this show? Fun fact, there actually is a long lost sequel to Love's Labor's Lost called Love's Labor's Won. That is actually a thing. Just
I've vaguely heard of that.
Lost to time.
Anyway, no love lost is when Andrew Lloyd Webber had the sequel to Phantom commissioned by a thriller writer. That No Love Lost was actually
it was the working title.
That was the working title of that novel.
Yeah,
actually.
And Andrew Lloyd Webber's like, nah, Love's Labor's Lost fits better into song lyrics, you know.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I can't quite imagine like a Christine actress operatically singing No Love Lost.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. Continue
no.
on to about tropes.
Anyway, it's just such a random thing to say. Like, where does that phrase come from? But everybody says it. Every time there is a really intense rivalry, someone on commentary has to say that there is no love lost between these two. It's so fucking random, and I love it. Sidebar. This is true. The entire Adam Page / Elite storyline be like, what if love actually was lost? That's true. That's what that was.
By the way, the origin of the phrase "no love lost" came around. It started around in the late 1500s, and one of the first published notes of it was by an English author named John Taylor in his 1622 work "Travel of a 12 Pence," where the excerpt reads, "They love me not, which makes them quickly spend me. But there's no great love lost twixt them and me. We keep asunder and so best agree."
What the fuck? Why are you trying to bring fucking like mid-century literature and iambic pentameter onto this show?
You're right. We need to focus on the wrestling.
Yeah. What the fuck? What kind of loser would care about early modern English poetry?
That's true. Anyway, so after Jake and DiBiase gonna go for big moves on each other each time, but they both kind of duck out of it. DiBiase rolls out of the ring and he tells Slick to go to the back. Suspicious. DiBiase looks at the bag and he's trying to go Jake to like come outside and fight him. And Jake does it and they fight. Jake knocks DiBiase down, But as he's doing that, in comes the big boss man.
Big boss man.
Big boss man clocks Jake in the back of the head with a nightstick. That's a DQ. All right, moving on.
Yeah. Which I was like, wait, Big Boss Man is working heel? Did I misunderstand the timeline?
No, we talked about this last time, is that the Big Boss Man is a heel right now with the ball and chain. Literal ball and chain, and he's with Reverend Slick.
Okay.
We talked about that last time.
I completely forgot. I'm so bad, because I know, like, BBM started, like, heel, and then he became fit. But it's still so, like... Yeah, well...
You know, anyway, Big Boss Man, let's go through it anyway. Big Boss Man handcuffs Jake Roberts to the ring rope while he just goes and grabs the bag.
Yes.
And conveniently...
stealing someone's personal property, that's not very lawful.
Well, hold on. Yeah. But it's all going to make sense in a second.
Yeah.
They for some reason, the Brother Love show is just set up. So they all just go to the Brother Love set. Yeah. And DiBiase is like, Brother Love, this is another shining example of what I've said again and again and again. There is nothing in this world the $1 Million Man's money cannot buy. And I
have to say, as weird and random as it was that Brother Love was just set up on the outside, ready to go, the image of DiBiase cutting this promo, like, while Jake is still, like, reeling in the ring,
and legitimately, like, happen.
Yeah, legitimately, like, kind of a cool moment. It
was a cool staging, cool setup.
Yeah,
to do it.
Yeah, I like that. I actually kind of got down with it.
Yeah, it's just very weird that the Brother Love show is just ready to go. But it was cool anyway. Yes. So DiBiase talks about how he bought and paid for the most beautiful title belt in the world, and he jerks off about his belt for a second. And but Jake had the gall to stick his slithering, slimy hands on his property. And so, what do you do, Brother Love, when you deal with a thief? You go get the police. Well,
yes, and then the police steal things from other people. That's how that works.
Yeah, very unrealistic. Usually what happens with thieves when you call the cops is they just kind of write up a report and say they'll get back to you about that, and then they don't. So that's what should have happened, but I guess not.
Damn, truly. The big boss man. That how do we know that the big boss man is only a kayfabe cop? Because he's not following 10 years of proceduralism.
He got the stolen property back.
He did not have to go through the bureaucracy.
So DiBiase says he went out and bought the best police protection money can buy, and Boss Man gets a weird look on his face when he says that part.
Yeah.
And DiBiase's like, thank you, Slick, for your services. You're well paid. And you, Big Boss Man, are well paid. And Boss Man's like, well, now what's this here about a payoff? And Slick's like, whoa. Why are you so mad? Boss Man, no, there's no payoff here. Ted DiBiase is just showing his appreciation. This is the donation. Because apparently Big Boss Man, who has otherwise just been a corrupt cop character, has hang-ups about, like, being paid off as a cop.
my man fucking dozed off for the entirety of, like, the ethics course in basic training, except for, like, the one class that was like, hey, don't take bribes. And that's, like, the one, like, ethics thing he retained and just rolled with it.
Yeah, so... If I had a nickel for every face turn that I knew happened but was unexpectedly got to watch on this show, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
Wait, what was the first one?
Brutus Beefcake.
Oh, fuck yeah.
The barber.
When he became the barber.
Yeah, so Big Boss Man is... like, you just told me that I was retrieving stolen property. He had heard nothing about no payoff. And now Ted DiBiase could read the room of this situation and play it off in a way that might be beneficial to him. He will not do that. He will instead double down on how, yes, I paid off a cop, and as such, give me my goddamn belt.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Ted doesn't have any social skills. He only has money. He buys himself friends.
Yeah, so Big Boss Man gets in his face like, nobody tells the Big Boss Man what to do. And DiBiase's trying to like
Slick all these years, but okay.
Yeah, DiBiase's like, you're just scared of putting your hand in that bag. And Boss is like, I'm not scared of anything. And he puts the bag, he goes in the bag, he grabs the belt out of the bag.
I wonder if Damien was in that bag.
I kind of think he might not have been in the bag. Like,
okay.
I mean, we never see Damien, so like I totally could believe that they just like faked it and didn't actually put the snake in there.
It would have been kind of metal if Big Boss Man literally did just stick his hand in there with the snake. Like,
yeah,
you know,
but
pretty cool.
He's got the $1 million belt, and he's like, if you want it, you'll have to earn it the old-fashioned way. And Big Boss Man,
you're gonna have to earn it, yeah.
Which is funny to say that when, again, admittedly, DiBiase did buy this belt, but also Jake Roberts did also just steal it. So nobody here has won this belt in an actual match.
Well, it's also funny to hear Big Boss Man say that because this is also the exact same thing the IRS said to Ted Jr. about all the money he got from committing TANF fraud. You know, exact quote. I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere.
Yeah. So Big Boss Man takes the belt, puts it back in Damien's bag, and he just walks off the set and returns the bag to Jake.
Yes, and then gets out the key to his handcuffs.
And man, the people are going crazy for this.
They're going nuts for this. Holy shit.
They see a babyface turn when they know. They know a babyface turn when they see one. They are going wild as Boss Man.
No, I'm sure a big sigh of relief was shared amongst the crowd that they didn't have to like contend with the messy thoughts that came along with this very ACAB heel character for all the time they've been watching him so far. They're like, oh, thank God we can think uncritically about him now. Yay.
Yeah, so the Boss Man hands the key to Jake so Jake can get out of the handcuffs. And DiBiase's obviously mad, and Slick is just like distraught. He's like, what is happening? No, Boss Man, come back. He's like trying to keep the relationship working. And Boss Man just chucks Slick to the ground when he walks back to the set, and he's like, nobody buys me, boy. And he leaves. He was talking to DiBiase, not Slick.
Okay. I was gonna say, hold up.
Nah, he was calling DiBiase boy for a lot of that promo. So, gotcha. This is the babyface turn for the Big Boss Man.
That's so wild. Yeah, Big Boss Man apparently just all of a sudden grew a set of principles.
Crazy.
Look, I have not really seen much of Boss Man outside of this, so I don't know, like, especially heel Boss Man, I don't know, like, how exactly his crookedness was portrayed, but I get the feeling that we had not had any hints prior that my man had particular hangups about his ethics as a
for an 80s WWF. No way. Like, no. this is the land of like all the heels are evil because evil lulls, and all the good guys are, and the good guys are just good guys. That's how it works.
Because they were anointed by God above himself.
Yeah, that's just how it goes. And so, obviously. I very much also doubt that there was any like nuance to the Big Boss Man's character to make this turn make sense.
Yeah.
But it was a really cool moment, actually, I think.
Yeah, no, I ultimately got down with it. Like, this segment overall worked pretty well for me.
Yeah, and this is the big story beat of the show in terms of plot progression.
Yeah, our main event tier shit, and it's at the halfway point.
Well, we gotta have the real main event shit be, you know who, brother.
Well, yeah, but he's not even main event tier either.
I mean, he might as well be main event tier given the timing of the show here.
Well, anyway.
So match number 5 is Mike Justice versus the Canadian Earthquake, which Mike Justice is the first time one of the jobbers got a name card. That's nice.
Yeah, I was like, wait, is this an actual dude? Because he got a like nameplate and everything.
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
Jesse Ventura is completely baffled that Big Boss Man would just refuse a payoff. Like, he's like, money makes the world go round. I don't see why he would turn that down.
Man, I have to say, like, this, like, because the Big Boss Man turn thing, like, came out of nowhere, right?
Essentially, yes.
And like, as far as we know, does Big Boss Man continue to play into this particular, like, angle afterward?
Yeah, we're still the story, the Jake DiBiase story continues on to Mania.
Oh shit. So, and Boss Man's involved in it?
He has his own thing, but it's related to Slick, like leaving Slick. Like that also carries on to Mania.
I gotta say, like, not to really harp on this, but like I have to say, like, some of these stories in like this era of the Fed, like golden era, and like, you know, even going into early new gen, like I feel like a lot of these story ideas from this era all could turn out to be like really compelling if applied with like, I don't know, like more modern and like AEW, NJPW, like more serious indie tier story sensibilities. Like, yeah, even like fucking Hogan Warrior, which we'll get to in a minute. Like, if there was more like, if more nuance was allowed, we could like, these all could be like great, really compelling
in a different era where there's trying to be more TV writing. I think I would have really loved like a several weeks long arc here of like the Boss Man initially taking the payoff because he's never had a problem with it before, but then like as he continues to work with DiBiase, kind of being like, he becomes uncomfortable with being bought off like this, and then that leads to him eventually being like, fuck you, man, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, or even like
they could build on like Slick leading him under false pretenses about like what he's here for,
because watching this and also still being kind of confused as to like what role Boss Man was at this point. Like I also conceived this idea as Boss Man as almost like an accidental heel for the first bit of his career, where like he's kind of morally neutral, but he ends up getting like contracted out by
he's being led astray by Reverend Slick.
Yeah, and like the people that Reverend Slick hires him out to. And it's like, and he doesn't realize like that like he's getting these payoffs. Like he thinks he's doing legitimately important like contract.
Yeah, I mean that's what's happening here is that Slick didn't tell him about the payoff. He was just like, "Hey, man, this guy stole DiBiase's property," and
and he's duped into thinking he's doing actual justice.
Yeah,
like, we could get an insanely compelling character out of this with like slightly more modern TV writing sensibilities.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, and again with Hogan Warrior, like what I said last week, I stand by, like, it would have been even more fucking interesting if Warrior had won the Rumble. Like, just
especially with what Hogan's promo is later.
Hogan's promo feeds into, like, what would have worked about it if Warrior had won. Like, it's all just wild. Because, again, so much of this could actually really work. Like, the foundations are all really solid. Just with slightly better writing, some of this shit could like really with
something that's a little more, that's built a little more for TV and a little less basic wrestling storyline.
100%. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, this match, Mike Justice does try. He throws a couple punches.
Yeah, he actually gets something in, although Earthquake does not. Oh yeah, he's still the Canadian Earthquake.
That's important because we get a picture-in-picture promo of Earthquake and Jimmy Hart, and Jimmy Hart calls Earthquake his national disaster. Get it?
Yeah,
it's like natural disaster, but national because he's the Canadian.
Yeah. I love how Earthquake had a whole ass gimmick just built in upon arrival that he's this massive motherfucker, but they still really
had to add a little
ethnic
spice about how
pandering.
he's Canadian.
Yeah, there still had to be that little bit of like nationalistic pandering at the start of his WWF career. They just couldn't help themselves.
Yeah. But Mike Justice dies when Earthquake sits on him.
Yes.
And then
something I do want to point out, especially tying into the promo you were mentioning from Jimmy Hart. So on commentary, it's Vincent Ventura again, right?
Yeah, Vince. I think Vince and Jesse do all the commentary the rest of the way.
Yeah. Vince says that Vince is marveling at Earthquake and goes, yeah, the Earthquake weighs 480 something pounds. And Ventura just counters with, depends on what he had for breakfast. Well, okay, what? And then they do the fucking picture.
Well, it's because he eats so much that it affects what his weight.
That's what I'm saying. So we do the picture-in-picture promo, and Jimmy Hart bills Earthquake at 460 pounds. So I guess he must not have had breakfast by that point in the
not a big breakfast that day.
Yes. Also, the fucking mid-2010s picture-in-picture promo thing. Is that a fucking send-up to superstars? Because I remember on that one fucking, like, SmackDown episode or whatever, they had that shit. And even in, like, fucking 2010s Raw, they had, like, the picture-in-picture promos to announce for the Andre the Giant.
Considering we've seen it now here in Superstars and we've seen it on Glow, I think it's fair enough to think that maybe this might just be a thing of the era. A way to kind of have these quick little tidbits without necessarily, like, cutting away from anything.
But then mid-2010s was, like, homaging that shit.
They were like, wait, that is a great way to have little character tidbits without cutting away from anything.
Yeah. It's an interesting format, and I don't, like, totally hate it.
Yeah. Then after the match, Earthquake does his finishing move, squashes the big Mike Justice again. A 7.4 on the Richter scale, as Jesse puts it.
Yeah,
you got to get it because Earthquake. So every time he stomps around and sits on the Richter scale.
Even more get it, Earthquake. He beats up on Justice after the match is done, as an aftershock.
All right.
And then Justice fucking Mike Justice gets like carted off. Stretcher. He gets carted. That man is deceased. He died that evening.
It's time. Now, I made the decision going into this that it would be overload if I did Hulk Hogan's promos and Ultimate Warrior's promos every single time on this show.
Yeah, well.
So I have only transcribed Hulk Hogan's promo this time, both because last time I did the Warrior and also because, frankly, to me, Hogan was more insane tonight. So I went with the crazier batshit
Warrior was also pretty insane. But
he was, but I would rather. I was more excited. I was more excited for Hogan's brand of nuts.
That's fair. That's fair.
Where this promo goes is like holy fucking shit.
Yes. Now I am in the process, Austin, as I alluded to in our messages before we got on, of developing a rating system for your performances here. We here at the Noobs and Knockouts podcast have noted your particular affinity for performing entire promos.
I do like
from
doing
episodes.
that.
You do like doing that, and you know what?
I am unashamed of being a impressions bits podcaster.
Yes. You're just here to recreate the moments, and you know what? I respect that, but I really think this needs to be properly commemorated. So I need to work on developing a rating system of performance, delivery, and off the wall bullshit for all of these promos, because you do tend to transcribe the best of the best and the weirdest of the weirdest.
I do. You got to really excite me to get me to take the time to write up the whole promo.
Yes, absolutely.
I think I spent like 15 minutes watching this particular promo because I kept having to pause, type, rewind so I can.
Yeah, I don't blame you because Hogan's taking this one at 1,000,000 miles a minute.
He
so
does.
Please.
I could not follow him like as he was talking.
Yes. Please proceed.
Hulkamaniacs, we just gotta know. I just gotta find out. Never before have I had my stomach twisted and turned like I've been lately. Never before have I had my heart eaten alive like I've got cancer in it. But now I've got to find out what really is the strongest force in the WWF. Oh yeah, man, we've had our cage rattled before, and we've always came out on top. But recently, Hulkamania has been rumbled like I've never felt the earth shake before in my life. In the Royal Rumble, when me and the Ultimate Warrior twisted and turned, and as we stared eye to eye, I looked to those Hulkamaniacs. I saw the millions of goosebumps. I saw the questions in their eyes. And then a week later, I got cheap-shotted, almost decapitated by what I thought was the strongest force I've ever felt. I thought, who's the strongest force? And that's when my Hulkamaniacs came to me. They said, lightning never strikes twice in the same place. It wasn't an accident. They're wrong. I've looked into the eyes of the warrior. I've seen the clear vision. It had to be an accident. But now we've felt the force of the Ultimate Warrior. We just have to know we can't live with this thing. I've had dreams about this, maniacs. I've had nightmares about this over and over again. I've thought about tying him up, wiping that war paint off his face just to see the kind of man he really is. But now I can't live with it anymore. Ultimate Warrior, me and my Hulkamaniacs put the WWF Championship on the line. We challenge you, Warrior. We've got to know what the strongest force is in the WWF. And I swear, by the number one Hulkamaniac up there, Ultimate Warrior, the darkness that you press your opponents into before you beat them, if that's the same darkness that makes your soul live, if that's where your heart is at, if you ride your Harley Davidson side by side with the devil, if I find out that the power you possess comes from drinking the sweat of the devil's armpit, by God, I'll strike you down, Ultimate Warrior. What you gonna do when Hulkamania and the Ultimate Challenge destroys you?
He keeps making that question unnecessarily long every time he asks it.
All right.
All right. So I want to break this down a little bit. So first of all, I want to note it. I want to take note of running themes in this promo. Hulk Hogan seems, for all intents and purposes, quite aroused by the notion of being in the ring with the Ultimate Warrior. The way his gut wrenches, the way his goosebumps tingle, there seems to be the sheer hype that I feel from him unrivals anything I've seen from him before. I think he might just be a little bit horny about sharing the ring with Warrior, and I feel justified in this by hearing him talk about how he dreams of tying up the Ultimate Warrior and so sensually wiping that makeup off his face. So he not only has a general sense of arousal about this, but apparently quite kinky dreams to do with it as well.
I think it explains why this takes such a god turn later.
Well,
that Ultimate Warrior is tempted him with the power of the devil.
Mea culpa. God apparently being the number one Hulkamaniac.
Oh my God, that was the most insane thing that I've seen him do in that bit.
As somebody who was raised Catholic, that is far from the worst interpretation of the doctrine of God's love. God does ostensibly love you more than anybody else. So in some ways, yes, he is the number one Hulkamaniac.
I mean, the way I see it is Hulk Rules is an album that exists. And so
yes, that is true.
In my mind, the only way that God could ever allow such a thing to exist is if he is in fact a Hulkamaniac.
Oh God. All these motherfucking godless heathens out here asking, serious questions of if a benevolent God exists, why does he allow such tragedy to rack the earth? It's not because there is no God. It's not even because we have a malevolent God. We just have a God who's an insane Hulkamaniac. That's obvious.
God looks at evil and he says, if there is no evil, then there is nothing for my Hulkamaniacs to conquer.
God lets other people suffer because ain't nobody putting over. By the grace of God, Hulk Hogan ain't putting nobody over at the end of the day.
John, when writing the Book of Revelations, forgot to transcribe this important line when it came to the final battle between God and Satan. That's not gonna work for me, brother.
And here comes out of nowhere Hulk Hogan with the save. Oh, he's hitting the leg drop on Lucifer himself.
The power of Hulkamania was so strong that John did not know how to mentally process. It's like looking in the face of an angel.
Yeah, you think biblical angels are hard to witness? Imagine staring straight in the face of pure Hulkamania, brother.
That's actually why angels look so bizarre, is because they are powered purely by the power of Hulkamania.
Honestly, true. Where is the lie? So yes, running themes of intense sexuality and just a little bit of religious trauma and guilt stuffed down deep in there. And as for your performance, my friend, top notch stuff. Your Hogan is a pretty solid impression overall. I also actually have to give you kudos for making this promo actually like understandable to me. So top tier diction and enunciation as well, which is more than I can say for the Hulkamaniac himself. You know, truly like really high levels of understandability in your words. So with the sheer professional grade diction, along with all of the themes of the promo, I give your performance here an erotic audiobook out of 10.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So what a success after a successful performance, and also adding to our lore about Hulkamania. If you recall, of course, that we previously established the Hulkamaniac, similar to the Hitler Youth, and it is
yes.
a death cult. I think that slides in quite nicely to our interpretation of God actually being the number one Hulkamaniac.
It's all coming together, brother.
The prophet Hulk Hogan.
Nobody is allowed to portray his visage.
Oh,
why do you think we never see any drawings of Hulk Hogan anywhere, brother?
Oh, brother. When I get to heaven, dude, I'm going to get them 77 virgins, brother.
They're all somehow going to be married to Bubba the Love Sponge, dude.
Oh, brother. At least one of those virgins is going to be my daughter, dude, if I have anything to say about that, brother.
He would. What? But she's also going to be married to Bubba, dude. And then I'll go on his radio show after and apologize.
Oh my God. The Bubba the Love Sponge show from heaven.
But it's rebranded a little. He's now Bubba the Angel Sponge.
Oh boy. Okay. So my thoughts on this promo. God, I don't know. Within 3 lines, he talks about his heart being eaten alive like he's got cancer. They really are leaning into the strongest force in the WWF.
Yeah.
It's interesting that Hogan speaks in we.
Well, yeah, again, the Hulkamania death cult.
Yeah, of course.
They are all of one mind.
Father Hulk Hogan.
Father Hogan. Daddy, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. He saw the millions of goosebumps in the Hulkamaniacs. I love that he describes the Ultimate Warrior clotheslining him as he was almost decapitated.
Yeah, I don't recall that, but I also just have a bad memory for random ass spots, so it could have happened.
It's just a clothesline, really.
Okay.
And then he's like, he actually, the Hulkamaniacs are trying to sell him. It's interesting that like they are trying to sell everyone, but Hogan is like, dude, he attacked you intentionally, and Hogan's like, nah, man, I know him, he didn't do that.
He's
He
a
ain't
good
fuck
man.
with me.
Yeah, but again, like they're both faces here, aren't they?
Yeah. They're
Okay.
trying to toe that line of like,
Yeah.
they're both faces. We want them both to stay faces, but we still want there to be a story to this, really.
Yeah.
Something that resembles dramatic tension.
Yeah. Without making either of them morally culpable.
Right. The dreams, nightmares thing. Interesting.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in here, and I don't really get how he got from A to B on this, is of course the God thing, because he's like, I want to know if who is the strongest force in the WWF. I've looked in your eyes, and he implies Hogan, the Warrior, is like a respectable person, and then he swears by the number one Hulkamaniac up there. He's like, if I find out that the darkness, and suddenly the Warrior has darkness. That's new. No one has ever said that before. But apparently the Warrior has darkness. And if it's because he's of the devil, then Hogan is going to kill him.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
a holy knight of the Lord, Hulk Hogan is going to kill the Ultimate Warrior.
A crusade, if you will.
He's gonna crusade the Warrior.
Hogan be like Dave's Vault brother.
No. So extremely fun promo to listen to, even more fun to read out and try to recreate this nonsense.
That was insane.
I'll be honest, I want to talk about lines I had trouble understanding and correctly getting. I had to rewind for a couple of lines here. The strongest, not that one. The Hulkamania has been rumbled like I've never felt the earth shake before in my life. That feels like he forgot a couple of words in that sentence, and I wasn't sure that's what he said, but it is.
Hulkamania equals the earth. Come on now.
And it did take me a second to figure out if you ride your Harley Davidson side by side with the devil.
What even?
And the power that you possess from drinking the sweat of the devil's armpit. Okie dokie. Great.
What does that even mean?
Okay, great. Hogan does that, and then we go to the Warrior, and immediately it starts.
And I need to take note of something. So Warrior starts with his back to the camera, and then he turns around while he's going, and then as he continues to cut the promo, he has multiple times where he does like full 180s and 360s and delivers parts of the promo. His back like turned once again to the camera for like decent periods of time, and I'm like, Warrior, what the fuck are you doing? This is not theater in the round. But like he then like he has a line toward the end. I think about like Hogan turning his back on him or something like that.
He said that like, Hogan wouldn't come from behind like the others.
He wouldn't come from behind. And I'm like, wait the fuck a minute. Is Warrior actually doing a motif here?
I think a little bit. He's kind.
I didn't realize he was capable of that. I didn't realize he could do that.
That him giving his back to Hogan, knowing that Hogan would never come at him from behind.
Yeah. So like that was weirdly smart. I also have to give Warrior credit where credit is due on the fact that like the promo actually starts off like somewhat coherent and comprehensible.
Does it?
And okay, I thought so. Because he talks about this force field around Hulk Hogan, and it does kind of make sense, and even serves
that's called creative control, brother.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say the fucking, even if not completely intentionally, serves as like a great little like a meta comment about Hogan being politically protected backstage. So it starts off like actually intelligible because it responds a little bit to Hogan's promo. Then it talks about this force field that Warrior's trying to like discover,
Now,
trying to research,
now
and
before
then
he
it
gets
falls
to
the
the
fuck off a cliff.
well, before he gets to the force field thing, he says he speaks to Hogan because he has caused interference in my pathways as I try to communicate with my warriors, my gods.
What? Whoa! I did miss that part. The Warriors. So wait a minute. So on one hand, we have Hogan having the number one Hulkamaniac be the Christian god. Meanwhile, Warriors over
Warrior is
here,
a polytheist.
hugely polytheist. All of like polytheist, like personal deity. Fuck, I don't know what the term is, but no, actually, if you're a fan of his, you are a god. All of you are gods.
You're a god
actually.
to him.
You're a god to him. You Ultimate Warrior worships at the altar of you. Yes, you personally watching this right now.
Yes.
Why are you running away? This isn't creepy.
He also kind of also still sounding coherent though. After he talks about the force field thing, he's trying to understand. He said he's never tried to understand the obstacles before him before. All he wanted to do was to end battles before they became wars.
Ooh. I like
But
that.
at the Royal Rumble, he knew that Hogan wouldn't come from behind like the others. Mm-hmm. Now, I admittedly could only barely understand the Warrior and also wanted to not spend, after spending 15 minutes writing out Hulk Hogan's promo, I admittedly didn't want to pause and stop anything the Warrior was talking about. So I don't have great notes for like the insane half of the promo. You might have to take over on that one.
I didn't get like great notes on the insane half, mostly because I thought you said you were gonna transcribe it. But like, yeah, he's just kind of like going off.
He talks about how he has the Warriors hang off of his body.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what it was. So he put where it really lost me was the reason he puts these colors on his body and on his face is for all of his warriors, so all of his warriors can hang off of them. What does that mean?
I hope that's a metaphor. Otherwise, I don't think I understand.
And where did the talk of the colors come from in the first place? Why are you talking about it? Why do they need an origin story?
It half feels like he's responding to Hogan, but also he doesn't respond to Hogan's accusation that you might be satanic. So I don't know if I'm supposed to think he's responding to Hogan or not. And more importantly, Warrior also ends the promo challenging Hogan to the Ultimate Challenge.
Which Hogan already named, and Warrior says Ultimate Challenge as if it's like a brand new concept off the top of his head, but sure. Okay. And my note at the end of this was just fuck, it was so stupid. Why am I actually excited?
That is the power of the Warrior.
Yeah, because it got dumb, but I still felt a visceral hype deep within me as this promo went on.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
I would agree.
I'm a warrior too.
Yeah, the Warrior said he need not come from behind or take a cheap shot at anyone, referencing these events that have happened between them the last couple of weeks. But Hogan will only be approached by the Warrior face to face, eye to eye, and he and his eyes kind of get a little cross-eyed for a second.
Yeah, as
he says this, and then he also lays out the Ultimate Challenge: Hogan versus Warrior. Hype ass promos for sure, even if completely batshit.
even if fueled by the power of pure meth. Actually, no. For them, it'd probably be cocaine. Even if fueled by the power of pure cocaine.
I don't know. It could be both. At the same time, it's cocaine cut with meth.
And just a little bit of anabolic steroids.
Yes, of course. And after that, we just cut to the last match of the show, the Powers of
which
Pain.
is Powers of Pain versus
Butch Stanley and Chris Walker.
Did their team have a name? I thought I caught something, but I wasn't
they're
sure.
just jobbers.
Okay. Yeah, I just had Powers of Pain versus some motherfuckers. I thought I caught a name, and I thought I'd written it down, but I guess I didn't.
No, they just had a name graphic, so that's how I know what their names are.
Okay. So while this match is going on, it doesn't matter, and commentary knows this. So they're talking about the Hogan Warrior promo.
I don't think that I wrote down a single note of anything that actually happened in the match.
I did not either. It was just more murderizing by the superstars.
Yeah, the Rockers get in a picture-in-picture promo.
Yeah.
Again,
yeah, so I guess the Rockers are out here trying to issue a challenge to the Powers of Pain. And I feel like it should be noted.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like it should be noted the Powers of Pain are kind of like pushed to be legitimately intimidating. Now, whether or not they are the
most road warriors at home that the WWF has.
They are supposed to be the crazy, scary heels. And the Rockers issue their little picture-in-picture challenge, and put a little button on it with their little coordinated woo at the end with their fists up. Oh, very intimidating. I'm sure the fucking Powers of Pain are quaking in their boots.
Like they're you don't get much more white meat baby face than what the Rockers are right now.
Yeah.
As they are just like, yeah, we're gonna go out there and show them that we're the best. Woo!
At least they're talented in the ring.
They are.
Yeah.
Sean hasn't learned yet that being a cocky asshole will be better for his career, and Marty Jannetty hasn't yet learned how cocaine will ruin his life.
Also, like, wow, Sean's voice sounds like normal.
Yeah. Also, I just learned, by the way, that like as part of I have now learned where Sean got his lazy eye.
Oh?
It was on a mat. It had to have been related to some arc we were recently talking about or doing that made me ask about this. But oh, that's right. That's it. I was watching a Wrestling with Regret video he talked about Shawn Michaels versus Kane on pay-per-view that was literally the night before Kane would turn babyface as part of the Kane Lita arc that we've talked about aplenty here.
Yes.
And in that match, Kane hit Shawn Michaels in the right way that gave him his lazy eye.
Oh shit. That's wild.
So that's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, that was all the way in like 2005. I just thought of that. I just remember that I just recently learned like how Sean got the lazy eye.
Fair enough. Goddamn. But yeah, so on commentary, Vince and Jesse are still talking about the Hogan and Warrior promos. And Jesse says essentially that Hogan and Warrior are all talk and no guts. And how this is all just a bunch of hooey, whatever. Nothing's gonna come of it. They're too chicken shit, whatever. And Vince is talking about, Vince goes like, well, that's a good point, Jesse. Something they'll want to protect themselves. And then he pauses for a second, realize what the fuck he just says, and goes, actually, that's a lousy point.
No, I'm sorry. What I mean to say is yes. No, that match will definitely happen.
Will definitely be happening. Yeah, no, I want us to start using that now as like an insult. Like someone shares an idea or shares a thought, and I go, oh, well, that's a great point. Actually, that's a lousy point. And then just move on.
Yeah, it was. First of all, I don't really get. I get that Jesse is a heel commentator and has to just say shit.
Jesse Ventura especially will just say shit.
It's weird to me though because it feels like, especially with Jesse, Bobby Heenan is absolutely more in the vein of like, I will say literally anything because I am a delusional heel. Jesse always gets this reputation, and it's usually deserved, of being a more reasonable heel commentator in the sense of like he says more things that are like you get it from a certain point of view. Like instead of being like a delusional jackass who has to frame everything the bad guys do as definitely right and everything the good guys do is definitely wrong. He still kind of goes for that, but it comes from this angle of like having this perspective as a person that you just kind of assume bad intent in good people. And that's how it worked with these malfunctiony bits that we've had with Hogan and Warrior. He has assumed malicious intent and the story is that there isn't really. Or it's ambiguous at best. And he is like, no, they did that on purpose. This feels weird though, because like there's absolutely nothing that you could latch onto either Hogan or Warrior to suggest them as cowards.
Yeah. Well, again, he just says shit. Like I've just kind of come to expect of this generation, and hell, for just a lot of WWE fucking heel commentating before, I don't know, like the current era.
Gosh, I don't know, because Corey Graves can get into that kind of tropiness too.
Really? Because I feel like they're a lot better about like calling with level heads, but just kind of like siding with like heel mentalities.
Yeah, like basically like acknowledging it's cheating, but thinking that's fine.
Yeah. Or you have someone like Taz on AEW who is like a heel in that like he's buddies with MJF, and sometimes will be like, well, yeah, that's just what you gotta do. I mean, ain't nothing wrong with it. But then also like when fucking Hook turns heel and beats up on his son, he does it. He's also like gravely concerned about his son and not just siding. So like, and also will still call matches like really evenly. So like, I feel like nowadays that sensibility has died down a lot.
It's definitely lessened the idea of like we got to play cartoony, like.
But for a long time, even into the 2000s, WWF
because of Lawler.
Yeah, well, a lot of that is Lawler proudly, bravely carrying on the tradition. But there is a sense, I've just gotten used to the sensibility of if they're the heel commentator, they will just say whatever deranged shit crossed their mind and try to like pass it off as intellectual honesty.
Yeah, so weird. The Powers, they win the match. I wrote Sean Mooney finally. As we get this one.
And then I suddenly long for his segments to get cut again, because Sean Mooney's like announcing the fucking upcoming like show.
He's not that interesting of a guy.
It sounds like he's reading off a weather forecast.
Yeah. I didn't bother to write down any of that part, but I did take mild notes on the two promos we got advertising upcoming live event matches. First, we get Rick Rude versus Roddy Piper in a cage match coming up.
Yes, and we have Roddy Piper behind steel cage bars.
They love doing that. They love doing that for cage match promos.
In case your ears don't work and you didn't just hear what type of match this would be, just here's a visual representation.
So Roddy just goes nuts. The highlight of which being at one point he just starts singing the Batman theme.
Yes,
and he says Rick Rude is ugly enough to be a bat.
Yes, thank you, Roddy.
But at some point, it's crazy. At some point, he just jumps in. Na 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 na.
Yeah, I don't even fucking remember how he segued into that. That shit moved at 1,000,000 miles a minute.
Classic. And Piper. Then we're building up to Macho King Randy Savage versus Dusty Rhodes at a
So we get Macho King and Sherry in a promo, and Sherry the entire time is pacing back and forth and Macho King is saying stuff.
I honestly didn't pay attention to anything Macho
King again, 1,000,000 miles a minute, deranged bullshit. I lost all of it.
At one point,
what I did
is when he transitions to Sherry, he just stops on a dime, abruptly like, "Hey, you say something,
say something," and Sherry's like, and Sherry goes, "What?"
Say
And she
something
steps-
about Sapphire right now. And Sherry's like, oh, Sapphire, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna be on you like black on an inner tube.
Okay.
I laughed. If you don't know what that is, that's like on a bike. Like on a bike. wheel.
Oh, okay.
It's a
But
tube on a
also
bike
interesting choice of metaphor. Considering Saphire's a black woman. Thank you for that.
No, yeah, Starfire is orange. Thank you.
Yes,
very much.
thank you. I will say, Sherry says that Sapphire is gonna be hers. Happy Pride.
Mm-hmm. This is all
Okay.
Sherry Sapphire. It's all just negging. Actually,
True. Sherry's
Sherry
a
is
studied pickup artist.
Sherry is coping and seething about how
And
much she
dilating.
wants
True.
to get with Sapphire. So she's like, "Yeah, well, you're a peasant and ugly and stupid and fat,
And she'll be mine.
Okay. And then, but that is that. And then we get an advertisement from Vince for next week's episode. The big thing is the Powers of Pain versus Demolition. Is the featured
so
match.
Demolition also is feuding with Powers of Pain. Is this like, are we angling for like a 3-way tag bout here?
No, I think they're just using Demolition as a way to get to Powers versus Rockers. Like, I think they're using the former Fuji connection to have like it mean something, but I don't think we're building to Demolition versus Powers versus Rockers.
Damn, that'd be cool.
Nobody knew what 3-ways were yet. It's 1990.
I mean, well, depends on where in the world you are.
ECW invented but definitely popularized 3-way matches in wrestling.
Shit.
Yeah, the 3-way dance.
I did not know that, but that's sick.
Yeah, so the only thing of note I took here is of Demolition Smash calling Fuji Fuge the Stooge.
Thank you.
And then the last thing we get on the broadcast is that next week they will announce the main event for WrestleMania 6. God, I wonder what that will be.
I'm sure nobody could take any guesses as to what that would be.
To be fair, like, we are in an era where all the most important matches end up on live shows. So, like, you would be forgiven if you thought that Hogan Warrior might end up happening on a major live event.
A fucking house show, yeah.
On like a Madison Square Garden show, not WrestleMania. Especially because they were also building Perfect and Hogan. And they hadn't really resolved Warrior Dino Bravo, not really. And Warrior's Intercontinental Champion. So the idea of like, well, both guys have to be on the show in separate matches because they're both champions. Like, I think you could be forgiven for not assuming Hogan Warrior is going to be where they're going with WrestleMania.
You know what? I rescind my sarcasm then. That's actually kind of clever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cool.
Now, obviously, we know what they did.
Yes. No. I look forward to finding out what this very mysterious WrestleMania 6 match is going to be.
Of course. What could it be? What could main event the Sky Dome?
The Dome of the Sky. The Dome of the People. They chose the name anyway.
They did.
We're doing this match for you people anyway.
Yeah, so fun episode of Superstars for an episode of Superstars.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible. I wasn't in immense pain while watching it.
Yeah, I mean, the matches are at least quick, if nothing else.
Yes.
And the Hogan Warrior double promo was iconic in how insane it is.
And how deeply fucked up it was.
And we had a heck of a story segment with the Boss Man stuff.
Yeah. That was actually kind of compelling, I will say.
Yeah. So overall, going to give it a thumbs up for an episode of Superstars. But we will be back soon to continue this arc. But for next time, we instead return to Lucha Underground.
Fucking finally. It feels like it's been forever.
It's been a while, especially because you took like a month hiatus here because
Yeah,
like
seriously.
I
Goddamn.
checked last time we recorded this arc was like 2 months ago.
Oh, baby.
So Ray Phoenix is now the Gift of the Gods champion.
Yes.
I don't think anything else really happened on the last show, so I'm just gonna go with that. To talk about as the
Okay.
reign. I mean, Mil Muertes. Oh no, Mil Muertes is healed, and he is gonna fight. And he is gonna take on both Puma and Pentagon at the same time.
Gaga. Oh yeah. This crazy zombie motherfucker is gonna test out his
He's
rehealed
got
arm
to
on two both
prove
at once.
that he is still the baddest dude around. So he's going to beat up two guys at once to prove it.
Rip in fucking peace.
Yeah, so that is what is upcoming for us on Lucha Underground. Should be exciting as always as we inch closer to Aztec Warfare 2.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
But until then, David, hit our plugs.
Yes, sir. Dear friends, thank you all for joining us on yet another episode of the Noobs and Knockouts podcast. We are so delighted to have you here. Returning listeners, viewers, what have you, you know the drill. Thank you all so much for once again welcoming us back into your eardrums, your eyeballs, whatever it is you use to consume our content. We're just so happy to have you here. You know this. But hey, new people, hey, hi, how's it going? Welcome to the show. We here at the Noobs and Knockouts podcast like to think we are friendly to both noobs and knockouts alike. So whether you're brand new to the wild, wacky world of wrestling or you're a veteran of all the weird bullshit, either way, we are delighted to have you here. We hope you've enjoyed your time here. We hope you want to keep enjoying your time here week after week after week. And I'm going to tell you exactly all the ways you can do so just to make sure you're fully up to date on all that good shit. So, of course, first and foremost, you can find us on YouTube. We are the Noobs and Knockouts podcast on YouTube. Hit subscribe, ring that bell. Make sure it turns a nice little solid color so you get notifications every single time we drop a brand new episode. Check out all of our playlists. Austin has been kind enough to organize all of the storylines that we follow into their own separate playlists so you can follow something all the way down without having to skip around a whole lot. It's great. You know, give us that sweet, sweet comment, like, all that stuff, engagement. If you're so inclined, helps us out a lot. And yeah, just generally enjoy the video version of this show. You can see our beautiful, sexy looking HUD and our beautiful, sexy looking faces, and just how Austin contorts himself to do these crazy ass impressions week after week. Great times to be had by all. Over on
I was imbued by the spirit. I was possessed by the spirit of Hulkamania tonight.
the spirit of Hulk Hogan, who is still very much alive. It just transferred into your body briefly.
Yeah, very
somewhere
briefly.
Hulk Hogan went comatose for like 2 minutes. So yes, enjoy all of that on the YouTube with the video component. But of course, if you're a fan of the audio only experience, we suppose we understand that as well. We have you covered on those fronts. You can find the Noobs and Knockouts podcast on 3 of the best places to find your audio only podcast, which would be Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Give us a listen there. Download our show so you can listen to us offline. If you're so inclined, maybe give us some nice little ratings and reviews, especially some good ones if you're really inclined. Let people know, hey, these guys are pretty cool, and maybe more people should be listening to them. I don't fucking know. I'm just spitballing off the top of my head here. But all that good stuff over on the audio only side as well. Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, so you can listen to the Noobs and Knockouts. Of course, on top of that, we exist past this little void we find ourselves in week after week. We have a little bit of social media presence. Of course, you can find us on Twitter. We are at Noobs and Knoxpod on Twitter. That's at Noobs, the letter N, Knoxpod on Twitter. Come check us out there. We post memes. We engage in discourse. We put up a post every single time we drop a brand new episode. All the responsible things that, good media managed social media should do. Of course, on top of all of that, the highlight of our Twitter is weekly wrestling live tweeting every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. We are watching and live tweeting about AEW Dynamite on TBS and talking all about that shit. Additionally to that, when we have time, we just tweet about all the fucking AEW. When we're able to, on Saturday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern on TNT, we are watching What Else AEW Rampage. It is the show that y'all been waiting on, and talking about that. And then on top of that, because it's a crazy motherfucking time in the history of wrestling, on Saturday nights at 8 p.m.
It is
We are
all
watching.
fighting that I hear.
I was about to get there. Yes. We are watching AEW Collision on TNT. It is the night that's all right for fighting. It's the night that's all right for brawling. It's the night that's all right for CM Punk to actually be around the company. Get a little action here. And so we like to cover as much of that as possible. We are an AEW household, and unabashedly so. Sorry, not sorry. But on top of all of that, Austin and I tend to split the duties on that one. But Austin really likes to cover all of the major company pay-per-views. He watches all of them. He'll sometimes live tweet about them, and we like to tell all you motherfuckers about it because they're just great, especially if you are of the noobish persuasion. Pay-per-views are just a great little jumping on point in a lot of ways. You're almost guaranteed to get some like top-notch banger matches. Storylines are wrapping up. New ones are beginning. It's just a great like spectacle entryway for those who are just finding their footing in the wrestling world. So my friend, for all those to be informed, what is on the docket coming up?
Right. So for Impact Wrestling is the next up here. As on July 15th, it is Slammiversary, their 21st anniversary for Impact Wrestling. Crazy to think it's still here.
Ooh.
It's my favorite weekly wrestling product, Reno. I gotta be that guy who's like, Impact Wrestling is hipster as hell to be an Impact simp in 2023, and I will proudly wear that honor. To watch Impact Wrestling on a weekly basis, boy, you gotta go hunting for this. You can find it on Access TV if you know where that is, and you probably don't. It's high up there in the cable packages channels. However, Impact Wrestling is very kind. They understand that who watches Access except no one. That if you on there, you can get a YouTube subscription to their channel, but $1 a month. That's all. Very low cost, relatively speaking here. You can get every single episode of Impact a commercial free every week, basically at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Normally it airs like on Access at 8 p.m. Eastern, regular TV 8 to 10. But you get it starts at 8:30, so a little bit later, but you get it commercial free.
Ooh.
And then
you're caught up by the end, the math checks out.
Yes. And then for Slammiversary, that's a pay-per-view event. You can get it wherever pay-per-views are sold or on Fight TV. Next week is, it's July 15th. So next episode, I will be covering more of the matches on this show. For next up for WWE is SummerSlam. We are recording this before Money in the Bank, but we will be releasing after Money in the Bank. So, the next pay-per-view upcoming for WWE taking place in Detroit, Michigan at Ford Field.
Oh, yes. That's going to be in D-Town, and I will not be going.
Is SummerSlam. Obviously, as Money in the Bank hasn't even happened yet at time of recording this episode, I got nothing for you. But that's August 5th.
No
for WWE, you can watch every week on Monday nights is Monday Night Raw at 8 o'clock on USA Network. And SmackDown is on Friday nights at 8 o'clock on Fox. There is a technical brand split, though it is a little loosier-goosier than it might sound like it is.
Yeah.
But generally, you could probably get away with only watching one or the other show a week if you're a little intimidated by suddenly having 5 hours of TV a week.
The sheer volume.
I mean, we just talked about AEW, and they're more and Dynamite and Collision is more interconnected than Raw and SmackDown is at this point.
WWE's the more accessible product. No.
That's always been true. WWE, the pay-per-view to watch SummerSlam, they are off the pay-per-view market. They have been for a decade now. They are full in on streaming only, buddy. And you can do that. The plays are now all on Peacock, the NBC Universal streaming service. You can watch them live on that. And then for AEW, we are just coming off of Forbidden Door.
Forbidden Door.
And boy, they got two goddamn big shows at once. So, on August 27th, live at Wembley Stadium in London. Yes, that
Wait, is that all? I thought that was, oh, fuck. Oh, no. Yeah, sorry, go on. Yes.
On August 27th, that is, we have already sold, they've sold like nearly 70,000 tickets at this point. It is insane. It is the largest paid attendance for a wrestling event since WrestleMania 32 in Dallas. And you can't reach that because Dallas was over 100K, I think. Either way, this is insanely large crowd. Who knows if people are fantasy booking a lot about what kind of matches they're going to put on this Wembley show. Where can we watch it? We don't actually know yet, which means it's probably not traditional pay-per-view, but beyond that, we don't have an idea. But a week later, how many days are in August? A week later, on September 3rd in Chicago, again, is All Out, one of AEW's traditional 4 pay-per-views a year. That will be available on regular wherever pay-per-views are sold, or Bleacher Report if you're in the U.S. Fight TV if you are international,
if
or
you are
international.
If you are not in the U.S.
Yes. All Out. So when we get around to it, I'm gonna have to talk up 2 AEW pay-per-views at once because they're basically happening at the same time.
Austin, you know what you got to do? You got to go for beating the Excalibur record.
Absolutely not. Not doing that.
Coward.
I can't talk that fast. I can't talk that fast. I'm not a fast talker.
Has Weird Al's hardware store taught you nothing?
Yeah, it's taught me I can't do that shit. But that is all the upcoming pay-per-views for the big 3 American companies.
Outstanding. Yeah, be sure to check out all that good shit, folks. Like we said, for the noobs amongst you, those pay-per-views are just a great place to kind of hop on, check it out. We like to tell you the deets of the regular shows as well. All that good stuff. And we tweet about as much of this shit as we can. If you, for some reason, like listening to us ramble about wrestling for hours on end, you'll like it over on the Twitter. The voices carry over. We're pretty fucking funny guys, if I do say so myself. People do not give us the credit that we deserve, and I'm goddamn tired of it personally. So come over to the Twitter and tell us how amazing and perfect and funny we are. Sorry, I'm just kidding. I'm not that conceited. Please don't hate us. Anyway, so on top of that, if you want to get more in more direct and long form contact with us, we have an email address. You can find us, noobsandknockoutspod@gmail.com. You can come say hi to us there. Tell us what you think about the show. Request things you want to see us cover on the show. Start discourse with us about, how fucking based in red pillar hot takes are if you just think we're a bunch of idiots. Either way, just talk to us, make conversation, make jokes, make requests, whatever. Come say hi. We love people saying hi. We would love to say hi back. noobsandknockoutspod@gmail.com. And of course, finally, we are also the Noobs and Knockouts podcast on Patreon. $1 a month gets you early access to episodes and a shout out at the end of each episode. Shout out to friend of the show as a sugar daddy, Kyle Smith, for his monthly contribution. You're the best, buddy. We love you. We hope you enjoy your perks. If you want to hop on those perks along with our boy Kyle, you know where to find us. Noobs and Knockouts podcast on Patreon. The link, you can find that, is in our Twitter.
See y'all next time.
Hasta luego.